Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all the things that you have done for us. Thank you for everything that you are going to do for us in the future. Thank you for everything that you give us. Thank you for the clothes on our backs and the shoes on our feet. Thank you for giving us life. Thank you for waking us up in the morning so that we can come to your house and praise you and worship you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, so for this second edition, we are going to talk about some things that I think are important to young people. It's your responsibilities to God, to your family, to society and people, and next of all to yourself. So, I'm going to start off, and I'm going to hide the board. First of all, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think your responsibilities are? We're going to talk about God first. What are your responsibilities when it comes to God? Okay, start here. Yeah, I need to pick it up so it won't make the background noise. Go ahead.
I think my responsibility is to wake up, praise Him, and thank Him for all He's did for me every morning.
Okay.
I think my responsibilities for God is to pray to Him and to ask Him for forgiveness when I do something wrong.
Okay.
I think my responsibility is to spread the gospel.
Okay. Yes. Well, you don't have to, but I would like you to.
Okay, my responsibility to God is to watch Him do His works among others, praise Him, and tell other people what He has done for me.
Okay, great.
I'm done. Live up to society.
Okay. Okay, that's a good one. Just leave it right there in the middle. Thank you. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about is our responsibility to God. Now, the Bible tells us that Jesus gave us specifically one main instruction when it concerns God, and He said we are to love Him with all of our heart, all of our mind, and all of our strength. Okay, and today we're going to look at what is that? What does that mean to love God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your strength? What is that? Yes.
To stay true, like truly love Him.
Okay, stay true. Okay.
How about like it said with all your heart, mind. My grandma used to say your soul too.
Right. Mind and soul are really the same word. You know, the Greek word is psyche, which means soul. Okay, so mind and soul is really the same thing.
Yeah, she used to say that if you don't like, if God has created you and you go out of your way to do something for Him, that's showing care and concern, like you're giving it to Him.
Right. Right. I agree with that. So, number one, what it means is that this is how we love God with all of our heart, our mind, and our strength. First of all, is we have to understand that it is His Word that gives us, the modes and the means to make it through this difficult life. We have to understand that. And a lot of times, even some of the stuff that we're doing, in class, some of the stuff that we're doing, like other things, when you go out and you go to seminars and stuff like that, a lot of people have taken things from the Bible. Even the mindset principles that I teach, Dr. Carol Dweck and her team did all the research. Okay, they did all the years and years of research that they have done to prove that when we're born, we're born basically with the same things. We all have the same brain size, so we're born with the same things. And the only difference is that people that embrace challenges, they get what? smarter, better. They understand that if they embrace challenges, they can reach any depth and height that they want. Okay, so the teaching of mindset, though, is basically the scripture. It's what we call the Beatitudes. It's still running, just off. But basically, those are scriptures. That's the Beatitude. To learn how to persevere. Those are biblical principles. To learn how to fight through difficulties. Those are biblical principles. We looked at that last week when we talked about David. He was the last result, right? His dad he had 7 other brothers. And when they wanted to anoint somebody the king, they didn't even think about David, right? He was the last one because of what?
Because of how short he was.
Okay, that could have been it. I think it had a lot to do with his size.
He wasn't manly.
Okay.
To the others, the others were more muscular.
Right. So the Bible told us that he was good looking, and sometimes y'all know how the pretty boys, they don't look like warriors, right? So they didn't even think about David as the one. But God said, yes, that is the one for me. Okay, so we have to understand that His Word gives us a lot of things that we can use to make it through this difficult life. Because life is going to be difficult. But God designed it that way, because if everything was easy, guess what? We'll never learn anything. We'll never know anything, because we learn things because we're challenging. We challenge ourselves. That's how we learn. Yes?
But just say this. If things are more easier, and you didn't have to go, no struggle, no nothing, wouldn't everybody be happier? Or would they be depressed?
No, I'd be miserable. Because remember, I'm a guy that have to have challenges. My group won the state title, right? And after that, I was like, man, I've done it. I've got this group there. So I felt like I was here, so I needed to do something else. So people like me, people that like challenges, people that like to, endeavor into other things and try to see how far they can go in it, yeah, they'll be miserable. Yes. Oh, I thought you was giving me. Yeah. So life to people like me will be definitely miserable because you have no challenges. Remember, when we looked at the research that was done we looked at the one that was done with the rats, right? And we had the rats that were put in a camp-style situation where they were challenged, had games and stuff that they had to figure out. And then there was rats that was put in the couch potato camp, which they was only given food and water, and that's it. And what did we find out with that?
We found out that the one that was in the camp with all the studies and how to accept challenges, his brain grew stronger with his neurons, but both of the rats that were placed in different places, their brains were the same. They looked like the same, but one had more mass.
And that meant they had more connections. When we looked at the brain activity, the rats that were put in the challenging environment had a lot more connections in their brains with their neurons than the ones that was in the couch potato form. And that means that they were a lot smarter. Yes?
Is this story true?
It's research. It's not a story. It's research. That's what I was telling you, Dr. Carol Dweck. She works at Boston University. Her team had been studying the brain for 30 years. She's a neurologist, and that's what neurologists do. They study the brain. And so those are some of the tests that she did. Now, there were even earlier tests where they used chimpanzees to do the test, to do the same thing. They put a group of chimpanzees in a challenging environment. They put another group, just where they was given just food and water, and they was just sitting there sleeping and eating all day. And the same thing, when they looked at the brain activity, the chimpanzees that were in the challenging environment had a lot more connection. So we know that they were way smarter. Okay? So this is research that we use to prove the fact that, because some people, remember, fixed mindset people believe that you were born with everything you have, right? So you're either born smart or you're born dumb, right? Or you can be in between, but you're born with whatever you're going to have. You're either going to be smart or you're going to be dumb or in between. So, and we want to prove that that is not true. Everybody that makes it to that success level, the difference between them and people that don't is because the ones that make it, they challenge themselves. Okay? So that's what those studies were about. And why do you think they would use a chimpanzee? Yes, you first.
Never mind.
I know. Chimpanzees, I think they're 90. Their brain is like close to humans. Their DNA.
Right. That's it. It's similar. The only difference is 1 pound. You know, our brain is a pound bigger than, or it weighs a pound more than the chimpanzee's brains. Okay. So when you see those, anybody in here a Planet of the Apes movie watcher? Yeah, and you see how some of those movies where the apes actually begin to talk. You know, that's where that came from. That came from those studies that scientists had done years ago, to where they saying that, those monkeys, chimpanzees, these people's brains are so advanced that one day they may be able to, communicate like we do. We don't know.
Chimpanzees talk.
Right. Because as far as the brain, it's very similar. Very similar. And like I say, the only difference is the size. Okay? So number 1 is the word. And number 2 is a word that we have used here a lot. It's about effort. How do we love God with our heart, mind, and strength? Is we give 100% effort in everything that we do. Growth mindset. Okay? That's what God wants for us to do. That's the one thing that I don't understand about people in the church sometimes. Sometimes when we come to church, all of a sudden we think that we don't have to work hard. We think that God is just going to give stuff to us. And it does not work that way. We have to work harder. That's what Jesus said. We have to work harder than everybody else. So his expectation level is higher than even people in the world for us. Okay? Because he said if somebody run with you 1 mile, you go with him another one. You do extra. He told us to love our enemies, people that don't like us. So he wants us to do more than what everybody else does. Your hand was raised first.
That's why they say keep your brain small to the exposure.
Yeah, see, that's, those kind of things there, those are worldly sayings. But the bottom line is what Jesus says: we have to love those that persecute us. And it gets easier to do that the more you practice it. Because see, to me, I don't even look at it. People may say things to me that they mean to hurt me, but I don't even pay attention to it. I really don't, because none of that stuff moves me any way or the other. Most of the time, I think something is wrong with him, and I say, "Oh Lord, bless him. He must have a bad day." I really do. So I don't let that stuff move me. Yes.
Like if we love those that persecute us, so do you think like the Christians back then, when Saul was killing all the Christians, do you think like they still loved him?
Yeah, I know a lot of them did, because if you look at Stephen, as they were stoning Stephen, the Bible said Stephen was still smiling and looking up to heaven. Jesus, they was getting ready to kill him, and he knew it, and he said, "Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And the word is that Peter did the same thing, because the word is that Peter was crucified, but he was crucified upside down because he didn't feel worthy of being crucified the same way Jesus did. So he told him, you can crucify me, but please not like the Savior, turn me upside down. And he said the same thing, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
My grandma, she says, if somebody says something mean to you, you should give them a compliment.
Right, because this is the thing. If we want to be change agents, if we want to be people that change other people, we can't do the same thing that they do to us. That's when I teach parents how to discipline their children. You can't respond to them the same way that they respond to you, because what they're learning how to resolve conflict. And the reason that I know, I taught at Henry County Middle School. That was my first school of teaching. And it's a school that's like 98% black. But it's 98% black. And guess what the number one problem that we had in that school? Fights. But why do you think that's the problem? Oh, every hand raised. Here, let's start on the end.
Because people, they don't like each other because the skin difference.
Okay. Pass it on. Now, to the next person. Right there. Yes.
Because, for example, if, you have something and someone don't have it, that in turn is called bullying. Because some people see, they have, the whole school to pick on. But you pick on one person only. Why? Because they have something that you don't.
Right.
And that causes, fights for a lot.
Okay.
I think one of the reasons why there's a lot of fights is because also what they see at home, like how you said that it how they resolve conflict, that's probably one of the reasons why. Because one of the persons does not know how to ignore the other person.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Alright, what was I about to say?
You forgot?
I was about to say something, and then she said,
Okay, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
I forgot.
Okay, we'll come back to it. Just be thinking about it right now. So, I can see how, a lot of the things that you guys saying are true. But the majority of it is because of what she said. It's because of how we learn at home to resolve conflict. Because what I found out is most of my parents up there is I can tell how they talk to them when they come up to the school. They always in their face. They'll really, if I wasn't there, they'll probably curse them out, right? And so because that is how the parents does it, guess what? When you're learning conflict resolution skills by doing that, right? And when your parents curse you out and always say mean, derogatory things at you because they're upset because you're not doing what they want you to do, guess what you're going to relate that to? When you go to school and somebody say something mean and derogatory, what are you going to do?
Say thank you. I'm gonna be like, thank you.
Well, well, let me say this. What will most kids do?
Take it out.
Hold on. Let's get back in order right here. Green. Yeah, give her that. Yes.
I probably curse them out too.
The audit is audit because it depends on how my day goes.
Right.
I'll probably fight them.
Right. And see, that's good. You're being honest, because to the most part, now this is a research. Research says that we're going to do the same thing. We're going to resolve conflict the same way that we resolve them at home. Okay? And so that's why we get the kids that are really, really aggressive. And sometimes it's over nothing. I used to get kids all the time you know, until they really got to know me and know that that's going to be unacceptable in my class. But I get kids all the time that say, Coach, you better get him, he's looking at me. I'm like, what? He looking at you? Yeah, he trying me, Coach. He trying me.
If you look at somebody the wrong way, you can start fighting.
Right.
Right. I mean, at least that's how it
right,
is.
but listen to how that sounds, though.
Yeah, it's just
Coach, he's looking at me. Okay, now. See, that's what I'm saying. Stuff like that never bothered me. Because I always took it another way. Man, you must really like what you say if you're looking at me. Like that. You know, so that was my mindset. That was my mindset. And that's what I'm trying to teach. And that's what I was taught. Because my mom, she don't respond negatively to stuff like that. You know, my dad was not around a whole lot. But my mom never said a negative thing about it. And so, we didn't grow up with that anger against our dad. Every time we did see him, the few times that we did, we loved him. Because she did not say the negative things. I got brothers on the other side that they couldn't stand my dad. And it's probably because their mother always said negative things. You're going to be a liar just like your dad. You know, so stuff like that will impact the kid, and we're learning how to resolve conflict, and that's why we had those problems there. So we got off track a little bit, but we're talking about the effort that we have to give. When we love God with all our heart, mind, and our strength, we have to be people that are willing to give 100% effort. 100%. As a coach, that's the one thing that you had to give me. You had to give me 100%. I know some people, you know, I had a couple of players that their parents, you know, pretty much donated money to the team so that they can play. And but it was understood that they may not play much, but their parent wanted them to be on my team. You know, and I was happy to oblige as long as they kind of like understood that. All right, but when we came to practice, I expected everybody to give me 100%. Even if you were not that good, you had to give 100%. Yes. They give it.
What kind of team was it?
Basketball. That's right. You weren't here. That's my background. As I was a high school basketball coach, and then I also coached AAU basketball with the Atlanta Celtics and Georgia Stars. One of them is an Adidas team. One of them is a Nike team. And they gave us money. They flew my guys all across the country playing in competitive tournaments. You know, and they paid for our flights. They paid for hotels, uniforms, all that good stuff. You know.
Have you been out of the country?
We never went out of the country, no. We had a few players that was blessed enough to be able to go, though. You know, like Derek Favors, he went out of the country, but he plays with the Utah Jazz right now. So there was a few players that had an opportunity to go out of the country, but most of the time there were competitive tournaments here in the United States, because you know basketball is most popular here in the United States. Okay, outside of America is really soccer. And the other thing right here in that what's our responsibility to God is we have to develop a relationship with Him just like we do with everybody else. Good relationships are based on what? Communication.
Love.
Respect for one another. Okay, that's okay. Okay, we'll stop it right there, but yes. So the same way that we develop a relationship with other people, by communicating with them, by talking to them, you know, we have to have the same kind of relationship with God. We have to communicate, meditate on what He wants us to do, meditate on His Word. So these are our responsibilities to God. Now, what about family? What are some of the responsibilities we have to our family? Okay, this time let's start around this way this time. Family.
Respect your elders.
You have to respect your mom and your dad.
Take care of like the crippled or something.
Okay.
3 things I learned is not to talk back, do whatever they tell you, or you get into trouble.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Respect your siblings, even though they're being annoying.
Right. Right. And you're absolutely right about that. They are, especially the younger ones, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, especially the younger ones.
Other room. Oh my God.
And that's what we have here. We have to learn how to respect our elders, and that's one of the reasons that young people get in trouble now is because they don't do that. They don't respect their elders. Sometimes, especially millennials, they tend to think that they know everything, and so they don't listen to other people. And we have to love again. That's the one thing that we heard up here. We love our neighbors as ourselves. Okay? And if we keep that, we'll do the same thing with our families. All right? Society and people.
To like share everything that you know.
Can you share everything that you know? Oh, that's great. Great.
Start a conversation.
Okay, having pleasant conversation.
Listen to somebody else talk.
Wow, I have to talk about that one because that's important. I hear a lot of people, especially women, that say, you just don't know how to communicate. Well, communication is something that people very rarely understand. Communication to most people is, let me get my point across, right? Let me tell you how I feel, right? You got to go back to the back because it's going to get you in the video. But communication to most people is, let me get this off of my chest. Let me tell you how I feel, okay? That's communication to most people. But real communication is when you have two or more people, and when somebody is talking, the other people are doing what? Listening. And that's not what happens a lot of times when we're communicating. Most of the time what's happening while the other person is talking, you're thinking about what you're going to say next instead of listening to what that other person is saying. And that's why communication kind of like gets messed up, because we don't hear and we don't understand what the other person is really saying. Okay? And when we don't do that, we show them that we don't value who they are. We don't value what they think. And nobody that feels unvalued is going to open themselves up to you. Okay? And she said a great thing too, man. She said we're supposed to share knowledge with other people. Yes. That's what we do. That's what we do. But why do some people not do that? They try to keep it. They get successful and they want to keep it to themselves. They don't want to help their brother and sister get that same knowledge to get to where they are. Okay, that's what I want to do. I empower people. I want people to know that you can get the same success that I can get. I have family members that, they think I'm all this big and mighty. Man, you got the car, you got the house, but that doesn't matter to me. I say, you can have the same thing. You're smarter than me. You should have way more than I have. And I mean that. I have family members that are really, really intelligent people, but they're not growth mindset. They're fixed mindset. So they don't work hard. They always want the easy way out. And because they do that, they don't allow themselves a chance to grow. Okay? You don't grow when you're fixed mindset. You stay the same. All right? So we do. Our responsibility is to bring light in the darkness. You know, we're change agents. We want to change people, help everybody get better. And the only way we can do that is we got to be doing right stuff. And one of the things that I say is that we have to always make sure that what people say about us is not true. Because sometimes people are going to say some bad stuff about us, right? But the reason that it don't bother me when people say bad stuff is because what?
That's not true.
Right. I know it's not true. I know it's not true. I know it's not true. But all the time, I get students all the time, even in high school, that's in a fight because of something somebody said. And after they get suspended, I say, man, now, did that person, what they said, what the person said, was it true? No, nowhere near the truth. But you're at home suspended because you responded to it and it's not even true.
I like to say this, but it's just like how you know, like talk about you or like say like lies. Some people like if they don't do anything about like the person who you're talking about, lying about. If they don't do like some people would like be like if you don't do something to help them stop, they won't stop and continue doing it.
Yes, they will.
Which will make
Yes,
like,
they will.
more.
You know why? You know why? The reason people do stuff like that is because they want to get a rise out of us. They want us to get upset. But when we don't get upset, it makes them look stupid. So nobody is going to keep doing something to make them look stupid all the time. They're going to move on. I mean, they might try it a couple of times, but once they know that they can't control you, they're going to move on. Because the only reason they're doing it is because they want you to get upset. They want to control you. And when you do what people want you to do, guess what? They do control you. They do. Yeah.
But why do people try to do that? Why do they do things and lie about you?
Yeah, some people, we talked about it last week. Sometimes when you're doing good, people get jealous. And because of jealousy sometimes, you know, they will get other people to come in on their jealousy to come against you. And it's all because they can't stand that you're trying to be successful. They can't stand that you have it going on. And so that's what we have to learn to do. We have to learn to not care about what people really say about us, especially when we know that we're doing the right things. When we know that, then we don't worry about what other people say. Some people, let me tell you this now, some people were born to be a thorn in your flesh. Okay, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, y'all know one of the 12 disciples, he was the one that turned Jesus in. He told him that he's going to be right there. Okay, so he betrayed Jesus. So some people that come in your life, they come in your life for a reason because they want to be that thorn. Okay, but the thing is, you have the power to not let them do it. And the only way you can do that is you have to not be moved by people that are trying to get you upset. Alright? And we already talked about that. This is how we, in society, we got to do differently by going the extra mile. We got to do more. God expects His standards for us are higher than the world's. He wants us to work harder. We already talked about loving those that don't like you and then turning the other cheek. That's basically walking away. But that's basically walking away. Okay? Basically walking away. Yes.
How do people expect you to walk away if they keep going and going and going and going?
Yeah. I do it all the time. I do it all the time because, like I just told you, I have gotten to the point, and I practice this all the time. I used to practice it when I was young, y'all's age. I used to practice it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I was bigger than most people, so most people wouldn't even dare it. But there were some people that dared it, you know. But let me tell you about a bully. A bully really expects you not to do anything, okay? Because they're really afraid. They are. So they expect you not to really do anything. But when somebody stand up to them, you know, most of the time they're gonna get scary anyway. Yeah, but it's a thing that you have to practice. You have to have a growth mindset. A growth mindset is a person that understands that they have weaknesses, but I have to work on those weaknesses and develop them to get better. Yes.
But how does that make sense if they're scared? Why would they come and like be mean or something? Or
Yeah, because this is what happens. Most bullies have low self-esteem, so they don't feel good about themselves. So they have to do something to give them that edge. They have to do something to make them feel like they're accomplishing something. And by having people afraid of them, you know, that makes them feel like they have some power. You know, if I can go in there and I can make this boy bring me his lunch money every single day, that makes me feel like I got power. And that's what a lot of people desire, is power. Yes.
Usually at school, it takes a lot to get me mad, but at my old school at Princeton, there was this one boy, and he just wouldn't leave me alone. Like, constantly, he would just talk to me, like being mean to me, and he'd follow me everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He'll follow me everywhere. And then one day I told him, can you please get away from me? Can you leave me alone? And then he stood in my face, and then I told the teacher, and she was like, okay. And then all she did was talk to him, and I was so mad.
Okay. So you wasn't satisfied with what the teacher said. Did he stop after the teacher talked to him, though? Did you see changes in how he dealt with you?
No.
He didn't. Okay, so your teacher needed to go another step, and she probably did. Yes.
What if, like, somebody, they say a bad word to you, and you say something smart, and then they don't have anything else to say?
Right.
It's like, if they call you a bad word, you're like, if somebody calls me a B word, I'm gonna be like, I'm not a dog.
Right. So you did the same thing that I just said. You just shut them down. You know, by using this and not these, right? Okay, and the last one, we got to talk about this last one. What's my responsibility to myself? Number one is we got to eat right. We have to take care of this temple. God gave us this temple, and we have to take care of it. So certain things that we eat lead to certain conditions that we have. Okay. Yep.
So are you saying like fried chicken and stuff is not good for your body?
Right, and particularly if you eat it all the time. See, that's one of my favorite foods, but what I had to learn is that it's not something that I can eat all the time. It's something that I can eat every now and then. But it's not just fried chicken. Anything that's fried, you know, really has a lot more fat, you know, because you're cooking it in the grease to the most part. So you have to reduce greatly the amount of fried food that you're eating, okay? Fried food should be every now and then type thing. Just like ice cream, every now and then type thing.
Ice cream is good, and it's still
Anything fried. Okay, hold on. Let's get back to protocols. We'll give that to your sister.
So you can't eat. So you don't eat donuts every now and then? Oh, you can't eat
every now and then, yes, but it's not something that I do all the time. Some people have to get one every single morning. I don't do that, okay? And because if you get one every single morning, guess what? You're going to get unhealthy. Yep. Hey, pass it to the back real quick.
Well, it's the one thing I learned is staying healthy, you have to eat something healthy.
Right.
And drink.
Right, I agree. So, the get the mic back. But that's taking care of our responsibility to ourselves is to make sure that we're doing things that don't lead up to certain things. Because, you know, right now, as kids, you can get away with a lot of stuff, but that stuff catches up with you when you get older. And you go to the doctor, and the doctor say, hey, man, you got a lot of cholesterol because it's been growing and growing and growing, and now all of a sudden you're on the verge of, you know, having strokes and stuff like that. Yes?
But why is it that if you eat bad when you're young, it catches up to you when you're older? But like, what if you like eat fast food a lot, but then when you get older, you're like working out and stuff?
Right. Yeah, you can change. You can always change and reverse, you know, kind of like the damage that you're going toward. You know, sometimes it's unreversible, but most of the time it is. Yes?
What if somebody has like a condition like ADHD or eczema or something like that?
Right. Now, you know, those are things that you don't have nothing to do with getting that, but you can control it though. We have things that can control it. You know, believe it or not, the doctors say I'm ADHD.
What is it?
You know,
What's ADHD?
I'm ADD, attention deficit disorder. You know, yeah, but there are things that you can do, strategies that you can use to help yourself get better, to help yourself, because I have a problem with focusing sometimes. Okay, so there are strategies that we can use to help us to be focused. And the next thing is not abusing the temple or making sure that whatever people say about you is not right. That's what I said earlier. Yes.
See, like the lie stuff is on. It mostly happens to females. They get more angrier, but like male, they play a lot. Just saying.
Right.
They
What
really
made
do.
them angry?
It's mostly women.
Now you're talking about here
Yeah.
when if people say you lie. Okay, and that what I mean by that though is if somebody's spreading rumors that you're a liar, just make them wrong by not being a liar. Okay, if somebody is saying that, you know, whatever somebody's saying that you're a mean, evil person, just make sure you're not a mean, evil person. So whatever they say, they can say it, but it's about what you show people. It's about what you show people. If you show people differently, then they're going to see you differently.
So it's like if you're mean, and
Right.
you want to be like, some mean people have soft spots, but like that soft spot is like very emotional, and if you like go towards it and hurt that person, it may be seem like you're a bad person. But sometimes it can even be the other way around.
Right. So you're saying that if it's a mean person, okay, but they have like a soft point in them. It's just that sometimes people push them to the brink of bringing that mean stuff out. Right, that's what you're saying? Yeah. Well, and that's why, like I say, and that's, you know, my wife, you know, we used to talk about that years and years ago. But I told her the more that I practice doing and being calm and having self-control, the easier it gets for me to do it all the time. Okay? I used to hear them mumbling and grumbling about, man, Daddy don't do anything. I don't use profanity. You know, I didn't drink. I didn't do none of that stuff. Now, I did before I had them. You know, but they used to argue about that. And, you know, my wife, sometimes she'll slip up every now and then, back then. And she used to say, well, why you don't slip up? And it's because I practice not doing it all the time. So when you do it like that, it gets to be a habit. And then when you hear other people do it, it just doesn't sound right to you. You know, so it's about practicing the good things over and over again. Yes?
And like she said, how it's how some mean people have a soft spot, but like some people actually push you to get to that
Right,
place where you're mean per se,
right.
but like they're isn't that kind of like bullying because they're pushing you to get to that place where you really don't want to be?
Right, right. And the way, like I say, the way to handle situations like that is by practicing doing the good things, practicing exhibiting self-control in every situation. The more you practice it, the easier it is for you to, just walk away from those things. I promise you. That's why I'm sitting here today and stuff. It really doesn't bother me because I've been doing it for years, practicing for years, not letting people determine if I'm going to be mad, if I'm going to get upset. See, because I'm not going to be in jail because somebody else made me mad. I'm not. Because I've been practicing exercise and self-control for a long time. So it's easier for me not to let people and what they say influence my attitude and my behavior. Okay, and we're going to take, because we got to end it, we'll take these three and we'll get her first, you first.
Do you think I should make them feel stupid? Like, if you're exercising your self-control and they push you to that point, and then you say, I haven't been to that point yet, but if somebody would be like, thank you for like bothering me, you should get an award. And then just say out loud, just feel like,
right, and you're doing something funny.
Right
yeah. See, and it depends on, though, are you trying to get a rise out of other people as well?
No,
Okay. See, that sometimes that's the intent, because they're doing it because they want everybody to laugh. And if you turn around and do something else to get everybody to laugh, then you're doing the same thing that they're doing. So that's why we don't want to do what other people else do. We want to be different. Okay? That's how we change people, remember. If we do the same thing that people do, then nobody really changes. Okay? So we have to do something different. Leaders do things, the last three right here, you and then him. That's it. We got to, because we overtime right now.
Okay. How did you exercise your anger?
Well, that's what I was saying. I told myself, I read a lot about strategies that I can use to control it, like counting to 10 when I get mad. Always think about my response to what people do, and when you give your time to think, you just practice it. You get in a situation where you can practice it, and you do that. See, this is what happens is, a lot of times we know what to do, but when we get in a situation, we don't use it as practice. It's kind of like a coach. The reason my players used to get mad because we do the same thing over and over again. And I used to talk to them and say, why do you think we're doing it over